Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call the order of the Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission. Can I have a confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice have been properly placed?
I can confirm that the packet was posted and the required notice of the meeting was provided.
Thank you. Have a roll call, please.
Yes. We'll call roll, see who's here. Commissioner Mike Sell.
Here.
Commissioner Gilmore. Commissioner Olson. Commissioner Bernhardt.
Here.
Commissioner Farber.
Here.
Commissioner Waters.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Chair Hay.
Here.
So that gives us a quorum of 6 present, and we have sent notice of today's public hearing to all property owners who own property within 200 feet of the property in question this afternoon, so we can proceed with today's business.
Thank you. Okay, approval of the minutes. We're going to, everybody take a look at the April 19th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Is there any corrections or anything anybody like to change in those? Nope. If not, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
I move we approve the minutes of the April 19, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the April 19th, 2022 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That passes 6-0. We'll now drop down to number 3, new business, public, open to public hearings.
First on your agenda this afternoon is item 3.1, and that's a public hearing to be held on application CU 22-3. That's been filed by Gurmeet Jasan on behalf of Vapor 100. And the request before you is the approval of a conditional use permit, which would allow an electronic cigarette establishment, more commonly known as a vape shop, to be located in a former convenience store that's at the northeast corner of 9th and Crawford. And the physical address of that property is 220 West Crawford Street. And we've given you quite a bit of background, especially for some new commissioners, just to see how the subject of smoking, vaping, hookah bars have been addressed from a zoning standpoint in the city. And by our count, not every one that has been before this body and been approved is still in business, but since we've had our ordinance in place establishing the conditional use permit review process, there have been 7 vape shops in Salina that have been reviewed by the Planning Commission. Only one of those on East Iron was denied, and the rest have been approved, and I do believe that several of them opened and have closed. The location that we're discussing this afternoon, there was a commercial building constructed at the northeast corner of 9th and Crawford in 1960 as a Standard Oil service station. In 1983, it was remodeled and converted to a Stop and Shop convenience store. A front yard fuel canopy was added and placed over fuel items. Then it was rebranded as a Coastal Mart, and it was last branded as a Conoco convenience store before closing for good in 2019. It's been vacant since that time, and it was recently purchased in December of 2021. At that time, the new owners obtained a demolition permit and removed the fuel pumps from the site and the canopy from the site. So our aerial photography predates the removal, which occurred in December. So it looks like it's still there, but I've been assured by Dustin that it's not. So the applicant states that this would be a modern retail vape shop. The hours of operation would be 9 to 9 Monday through Thursday, 9 to 10 Friday and Saturday, and 11 through 7 on Sunday. There'll also be other products, shirts, hoodies, beanies, etc., in addition to e-cigarettes, vapor devices, juices, and different vape accessories. They indicate that in their other locations, they've had no issues with compliance with rules and regulations. Vaping is regulated both on the city and the state level. There's even some federal regulations involved. They indicate they have a procedure for IDing customers, and the process that the city has chosen to take is for a conditional use permit to be applied for neighborhood notification to occur, and a public hearing to be conducted by the Planning Commission. And your job is to receive any public input and determine whether this use is compatible with its surroundings. So this property is zoned C5. It's been commercial since 1960. In 1977, it was part of a comprehensive rezoning that made it C5. It's been C5 ever since. Neighboring properties include a Casey's General Store across the street. There's Trinity Lutheran Church that's catty corner across the street. There's a satellite store. And directly to the north is a house that looks like a house but has historically been used as a child care center. And then there's an insurance office that's directly to the east. The existing site looks like a convenience store. There's no front yard landscaping. Basically, everything is paved, and that was allowed at the time it was built, and so it's a grandfathered in use. There's nothing the applicants are doing that would modify that. As has been discussed before, there has been some health concerns expressed about vaping and nicotine levels and nicotine addiction, and there's also been proponents of vaping that indicate that it's a healthier alternative for than smoking tobacco. So the question for you is whether you believe that filling this vacant retail space with an e-cigarette establishment would contribute to the welfare and convenience of the public by putting a vacant building into productive use and adding to the business mix at that intersection. As I noted, there's a mix of uses there. It's predominantly commercial, but there is a church across the street. There are no youth activity centers, but the church does function as a youth center at times, but there's no YMCAs or other facilities that are nearby. We indicated in our report that the church is exactly 200 feet from this building. And if you want to know how we know that, it's because I went out and measured it, because it was proposed as a site previously as a retail liquor store. And in order to be a liquor store, you cannot locate within 200 feet of a church. And so I went out and measured it for the prospective tenant, and it was about 201 feet on the dot. So it barely qualified, but that was the only way we could figure out how to determine whether it was an eligible location, was to literally go out and measure from corner of building to corner of building. So they indicate that they will use the property for the operation of retail space, offer what they refer to as swag products in addition to the e-cigarettes and vaping accessories. Everything will take place inside the building, that we don't see that there's any physical changes or modifications being proposed other than the removal of the canopy and the fuel islands. So sometimes noticeability of a particular business is a function of the amount of wall and window and outdoor signage that it uses. Most of our other vape shops have used a combination of wall and window signs, but we would ask the applicant to clarify what type of signage they're proposing for this location. As we indicated, there's no site or building changes, so we're not going to change drainage patterns or roof runoff. We're not going to change traffic patterns. All the existing driveways are in use, and this would be a lower traffic volume use than a convenience store. So we've calculated a need for 6 off-street spaces, and the site currently has 9 marked spaces, so it meets the parking requirements. And so we've identified a number of options for you. One, you could approve this conditional use permit application, allowing the applicant to open and operate a vape shop at this location. You could approve the application subject to any specified conditions or any revisions to the operating plan that you believe are appropriate. You could postpone consideration of this application if you think additional information is needed to reach a decision. Or you could deny the application if you believe the required findings cannot be made in this case. We have identified 8 suggested conditions. Our standard in the past has been to offer up 9 suggested conditions, but in honor of Mr. Olson, we have deleted the hours of operation condition because he deletes that every time we suggest it. So we just gave up and are no longer suggesting that. We do suggest that there be an age limitation. We do suggest that no more than 33% of the front window area be covered with signage. And the other thing that we have was that there wouldn't be any mixing of a drinking establishment license or cereal malt beverage license at this location. So the conditions that we're recommending are conditions essentially that the Planning Commission has placed on all the previous operations that you've reviewed, minus the hours of operation, which is not included in our recommendations. So with that, we'd be open to any questions that we have. We did send letters out to all the owners of property within 200 feet. That would include Casey's, that would include the Trinity Lutheran Church, that would include some residences, and we did not receive any feedback that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you, Dean. Any of the commissioners got questions for staff?
The canopy was removed and the gas pumps, is the sign still there?
Yes,
Two poles.
if you're talking about the pole sign structure, yeah. It's currently, the cabinets are vacant because their new sign faces are required, but the actual cabinet and structure of the pole are there. I'll pull that up.
Yeah, that was one of our questions for the applicant, is whether they were planning on reinstating the pole sign in addition to wall or window signs. So,
Those tanks were removed too, right?
yes, the fuel islands
Fuel
and the tanks were removed, and that sign face is still there. I don't know about the Food Mart sign, Dustin. I didn't.
The Food Mart sign, the wall sign is gone, I believe, but the structure for the pole sign is still there with the cabinets. I could have new faces put on the sign and relit.
Has a pretty orange building now, so out there. Is the applicant here? Would you like to add anything or say anything?
Yeah.
Okay, you'd like to step forward and give the clerk your name and,
My name is Mervyn Scroggins, and I work for the company. So as far as the signage itself, we'll work with whatever you guys need. As far as window signs, all we're going to have is a decal on the front door. It's basically just got our name and the hours. And then where the old existing sign was on the building itself is where we'll have a sign, but it's just going to say Vapor 100. It's not going to be like a whole bunch of extra anything. It's just going to fit within the limitations of what you guys need. And we're willing to work with whatever, you guys require.
So you've taken a look at the 8 recommendations. You don't have any problem with any of those?
I have not personally. They just had me come basically, to kind of, thank you.
Yeah, really would like to have you take a look at those
Okay.
recommendations first and. And Dean, I noticed there's a childcare center that's located directly behind it, and nothing in our ordinances or anything says anything about a cigarette shop or anything being that close to a shop.
What we had, what the planning commission recommended initially was in certain zones that vape shops not be allowed within 200 feet of a school or church or childcare center. And then the city commission changed that, and so made every vape shop a conditional use. So instead of having that 200 foot as a standard, it's just something that you can take into consideration. But I'm not for sure that is currently in operation, but historically that what looks like a dwelling directly north of this has been used as a child care center.
Yeah, I don't see any problems with what you guys are recommending. So on the age limit for IDing and stuff, we do have a card machine, like an actual scanner. We do not allow anybody in the establishment that's under 21 at all, unless they're with a parent, and that's for little kids. But we do ask that they stay, kind of away from product. If there's any mention at all on product to the adult, they are asked to leave. We do not, we're very, very, very strict with that.
So would that be an issue with that first recommendation that any minor under the age of 18 will not be permitted to enter the premises?
Nope. If that's what we have to do, we'll do whatever you guys ask.
It refers to the unaccompanied minors, so they could come in with a parent.
We don't even allow people to be on the phone and talking because we can't verify the other person that's on the other side at all. And we don't take anything from if we see anybody talking to another person in the car, that person in the car does have to come in so we can verify their ID. If we can't verify, we won't even sell to that person either. We will reject them at that point. Like I said, we're very strict with that part of it. But as far as any of the things that you're asking, we're completely good with those.
So
Anybody else?
Dustin, can you clarify for me again, the pole sign has been refaced or it has not been refaced?
I'll pull up an image here.
Dean, do we need to change that age limit to 21?
We may, you may want to amend that because since the laws first went into place, I think the Kansas legislature may have changed it from 18 to 21. So you may want to amend that from 18 to 21.
And can we get verification on that legality, the age limit? I'm assuming this is coming back to us, is that correct?
No, it will not.
Or is this? Oh.
I've got some information that I provided to Mr. Hers on the last case, and we would need to retrieve that. But I do believe that the Kansas legislature changed the age from 18 to 21.
And would you have information regarding that?
Last that I heard federally, it went to 21, but as far as Kansas themselves, they hadn't changed it completely yet.
So we may.
But you're requiring 21?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, we're required 21. We follow federal as far as that.
So to answer your question, Dean, it's my recollection that the pole sign that you see in this photograph is pretty much what's out there today. So the actual structure itself has been retained, and the cabinets, I believe, are still there. Is a sign face missing in the top portion, and I'm not sure if the sign face is missing here Maybe the applicant can clarify on that.
So is Vapor 100 planning to put a new face on this sign?
Most, like with all of our buildings that we have and stuff, we usually do replace those. And then we'll just put a small sign there that says Vapor 100 on it. And then that's, I mean, we'll clean whatever and put whatever facing we need there.
Everything that I can find online says it's currently 18, but they're looking to bump it to 21.
At the state level, right?
Yeah, most states haven't completed to the federal level yet. But I mean, they're still following federal guidelines. It's just that 18, like if they get caught with it, it's not.
Well, I do know
they'll
when the
just take it from 'em.
legislature first passed laws dealing with vaping, it was 18.
Okay. Any more questions for the applicant? Any more questions for staff? Okay, if not, I'll bring it back up to the commission for action, please.
I have concerns in the category of welfare and convenience of the public. Truthfully, there's a lot of contradicting information regarding vaping, whether it's as unhealthy as tobacco or not, and nicotine, not only with the health and the welfare of the public, but on that corner, church across the street, the daycare center, which we don't even know if it's operable or not, right behind it, those are concerns in my mind. I don't know if anybody else has thought about those or not.
I have the same concerns, but unfortunately, I think what we're charged with here is not the concept of whether vaping is okay or not. It's whether to approve this conditional use permit based on the existing structure that we have for our
Yeah,
approval.
sounds like they're pretty up to date on checking IDs too, so.
Well, all the people will actually do vaping inside the store then, is that right?
So basically as far as vaping inside the store, we just check the product and that's it. Once they check the product, then, it kind of goes out of the store with them. So as far as like vaping in the store, I mean, our employees do a little bit of vaping while they're in the store, not outside or anything like that, for our other shops. And then as far as customers, I mean, we set everything up for them, kind of explain, any information they need, bring them up to date on information. We'll try it out there at the shop, and then, of course, then they take it home.
Dean, what's the laws on tobacco shops? In other words, can people smoke inside of a tobacco shop?
No. But and that's why we write the background every time. The way that our local ordinances are written, what is prohibited indoors is indoor smoking. Indoor vaping is not prohibited by code, but it is prohibited by business owners, store owners. Vaping is not allowed in the city-county building. That's by rule of the building owner, not by a city code. So we have a prohibition citywide on indoor smoking. You can't. The main difference is that I've mostly heard reference to it as sampling. Many customers go into a vape shop and they sample different flavors, they sample different varieties to see which one they enjoy, and so what mainly occurs in the shops is sampling, and then if they've chosen their product, they take it out with them. But we don't see it as a place where it's a lounge where you have a congregation of people that are vaping. It is, the vaping that occurs is a sampling of the product to see if it's enjoyable to the customer.
Thank you.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion, we approve application CU 22-3 with the 8 staff recommendations and changing the age to 21.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Anybody from the public, maybe I should ask, is there anybody online?
We do not have anyone online with us today.
And I see nobody in public, so we'll bring it back up. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
That passes 5-1. Thank you.
Am I done?
Yep, you've been approved. There's a waiting period before we'll get you a written notice, but
Okay.
there's no further steps.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay.
And I'd just like to say for the record, too, that I don't believe that vaping is any better than smoking, and that it sure creates some bad habits. And unfortunately, that's not our job here, but I certainly sympathize with that viewpoint.
And I realize I'm the newbie here, so I'm learning some of that stuff, but I was looking under the category of welfare of the public, whether that conditional use was good for the welfare or beneficial to the welfare of the public there, and that was the reason for my vote.
No, that's a legitimate reason for why it is a conditional and not a permitted use, because it does have characteristics that are not present in other retail settings. So that was the reason it was chosen to be looked at on a location-by-location basis. So.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and we'll go down and Dean, any legislative matters at all?
We don't have any legislative matters for you to consider. There's 2 legislative matters that the City Commission concurred with your recommendation on truck sales in I-1, making it a conditional use, and they ratified your recommendations on the Cedar Creek Manufactured Home Park. So both of those were approved last night, and the Bruckner Truck Sales, who initiated that, has submitted a conditional use permit application after that was completed. So there's no new legislative matters or administrative or preliminary discussion items, other than that we would make note of the attachment we had to your report there on a recent Supreme Court decision, and we just say that planning staff and about 10,000 other planning staffs breathed a sigh of relief that the Supreme Court upheld the distinction between billboards and on-premise advertising. So essentially the distinction is that the city of Salina and most communities in the country treat the 2x8 electronic changeable copy on-premise sign different from a digital billboard. And so basically the U.S. Supreme Court said it was a valid distinction to treat this small on-premise sign differently from a digital or electronic billboard. So that means that you don't have 10,000 communities that have to run out and amend their sign code like we did the last time we had a Supreme Court decision. So we're relieved about that, and we just decided to put that in your packet because it's planning in the news. For unfinished or other business, I just want to, Chair Hay mentioned that last night Senator J.R. Clays appeared at the City Commission meeting and announced that the Kansas legislature had appropriated $25 million to go towards what's referred to as the Drever project. And so we haven't been much brought forward for the Planning Commission other than hearing it referred to, but it has 2 components. One component is some rehabilitation and new construction. There is one of the specialties of the Drever Group is taking old, unused or underused hotels and converting them to studio apartments. So they're looking to do that along the West Crawford corridor, west of Broadway, particularly the old Ambassador Inn, or what I refer to as the old Holodome, back when it was habitable. And it's certainly not habitable now, but they're taking a number of those and either looking at renovating or new construction there, and then they're looking at the area that is south and southwest of Menards, out in that area, and looking to develop that into a variety of different residential uses and products, ranging from cottages to apartments to townhomes to just about every different type of housing that you can think of. And they have some unique infrastructure challenges, so the appropriation from the legislatures to help with infrastructure as well as some construction costs. So because that appears to have been receiving funds, those projects are likely to move forward, and almost every one of them will come before the Planning Commission in some way. And so wanted you to at least be aware of that. And then we want to give you fair warning. It hasn't, we haven't got them all balanced and divided yet, but we have received 10 applications pending for your June 7th meeting. So we may order pizza, or we may take an intermission. We'll see what we do, but just to give you an indication, there is a piece of property in what's referred to as Stone Lake. All the developments occurring west of the lake. There's also property east of the lake that was not platted originally, but now the developers are coming forward with a plat and layout for housing lots on the east side of the lake. There is a development known as Magnolia Hills Estates, and they've basically got to the crown of the ridge going up from Markley, and now they're looking to plat the rest of that all the way over to Holmes Road, including a little peninsula that they own that borders the east side of the First Covenant Church. So it literally will come all the way down to Magnolia. They have submitted that. And then River Run, which is at the south end of Marymount Road, originally there was a phase 2 plan for that, and now we have applications to move forward with that. We have a conditional use permit for truck sales for the Bruckner Group on Copper Court, and we're also working with them. They're viewing that as an interim location, and they're searching for sites to build some new facility. And then we have a request from the library, which is a sports bar on South Santa Fe. And if you are a bar and you're in close proximity to the residential area and you want to have outdoor amplified sound, you have to have a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission. So that'll be coming forward. And then there's some proposed street name changes. We have a new development group out in Stone Lake, and we have a fairly confusing address pattern out there where we got a lot of streets that double back on each other, and we kind of run out of addresses. So we're looking to change some street names out there. For the most part, that's vacant, but there's a couple where you have existing residents or existing homes, and they usually have an opinion on changing the name of their street. So they'll be noticed on that. But we're going to do our best to break it up and organize it, but we just wanted to give you an idea that there's lots of activity, and that does not include the Drever project that I discussed. And then there's 2 more that we're working with that we don't know will happen time-wise, but there's a proposal to do some additional cottages and townhomes at Presbyterian Manor. They have one piece of vacant property left kind of in the northeast corner of their campus, and they're looking to build in there. We don't know quite where that will fall, but let's just say that there's quite a bit of activity out there, and we foresee you being an important body in reviewing a lot of those things. So we'll do our best to get them teed up and presented for you.
Next meeting on the 17th.
We will meet on the 17th. We just have one item for that, and that is a vacant lot at the corner of Highland and Magnolia, that an estate didn't know that they thought it was zoned commercial, but it's actually zoned residential. It's next to a veterinary clinic. It did used to have a house on it, and so they're seeking to rezone that to commercial. So there's just, on the residential side, everybody is looking to plat lots right now, so there'll be lots of subdivision reviews, and that does not count. You reviewed and made recommendations on the Aeroplanes subdivision. That was a preliminary approval, so that would have to come back for a final plat. So on my list didn't include them, but we anticipate that coming back shortly too. So you might let Margie know your favorite pizza variety before you leave, and we'll try to do something on the 7th.
Okay, anything else? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, guys.